This is the original eSport racing game. This is iRacing.
Acosta took championship number 2 last week at Interlagos. The stunning back-to-back crowns has certainly set this driver apart as one of the greats in the PRL. But behind him, the battle rages on. A tie for second leaves Eisler and Holland to decide who gets runner-up honors. It's as simple as which car finishes ahead of the other today as we get ready to watch round 10 of the PRL GTE Sportscar Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel and the iRacing eSports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Ducky Beard. Street circuits are still something of a rarity here on iRacing. Detroit is certainly one of the toughest among them. To get a better look among its canyon-like walls, let's pull up our track guide today. Welcome to the Belle Isle Street Circuit. Situated in a beautiful park on Belle Isle itself, it rests in the Detroit River, sandwiched between the Motor City and Canada. With it being in the far north of the Midwestern United States, as you'd expect, harsh winters make this a bone-jarringly bumpy track. It's most known for IndyCar's yearly visit, but has also seen IMSA hold rounds here lately. The 14 narrow corners only add up to a mere 2.3 miles in length, but it can tend to feel like a lot more just from the sheer stress of keeping your car out of the walls. Runoff is non-existent in the majority of corners, so mistakes tend to be punished with race-ending damage. The dangers include the tight and twisty fountain section with its rapid-fire set of bends, and the frightening turns 12 and 13, which end the lap with 2 swift kinks. However, the most notorious spot on the track is the exit of Turn 2, made famous by collecting the Corvette pace car into its hungry walls one year. The first 2 turns are a quick chicane, so the extreme change of direction, plus the rise in the track as it crosses over a creek, means grip and balance can disappear in an instant. While the setup of the car can sometimes help lessen the annoyance of the bumps a little, what this place all comes down to is driver skill and daring. Precision will pay off with the close proximity of the barriers. While it isn't a stroll in the park for drivers, fans get to enjoy the beauty of the scenery all while watching some of the most thrilling racing an American street course has to offer. They see a few of the shots around here, which the drivers will experience from inside the cockpit and what you'll see here from outside the cockpit. Now, Adam, this is a difficult track, but tell us a little bit about the stats of this place and what it's like with these GTE cars here.
Yeah, definitely, Joe. This is a 14-turn street circuit in Belle Isle. It's legendary in racing. It hosts some of the most epic battles of our time. And always seems to produce interesting moments and is especially unique and difficult in the GTE cars being driven tonight. With 3 of the largest cars on the service, the close quarters of Belle Isle can catch even the most experienced drivers out. Passing here is especially difficult as there are only 2 straights long enough to effectively make a passing run. Setting up the car to turn well in the corners, in the many 90-degree corners, may be tempting, but that added rotation can mean wheel spin off the corner and instability under braking. But if you go in the opposite direction, you'll run the risk of clouding the outside wall through every turn and burn your front tires off before you even reach your pit stop, losing valuable time. But no risk, no reward. Am I right, Joe?
Absolutely. There's always something to be risked in racing and street courses, especially so. But there's no risk for you checking out SimMSA because today's race is brought to you by them. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring organizations, companies, manufacturers, teams, and drivers together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. They're also bridging virtual and real motorsports by providing a network between these two, involving SimRacers, real drivers, teams, managers, engineers, and of course, motorsport fans alike. You can find out more about how you can get involved at SIMMSA.net. Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products create an incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. The winner of Division 1 here in the PRL GTE Sportscar Series will get a ButtKicker game or two or a simulation kit. Also, both drivers of the winning team in the Teams Championship will get a free t-shirt. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. I'm just hoping they don't have to share a single t-shirt on that. Hopefully they've got two there for them. Let's take a look at the championship, though, starting off with the drivers before we get to that team's race. Abner Acosta has clinched it. He cannot be caught by Eisler. If anything, now we've got even more excitement because look at that. A tie on points for Christian and David Holland. But David has not looked good in the warm-up. They do have bonus points. We'll try and go over that in a little bit, and that could affect the points, of course, and how someone could finish in front of one another and still lose out to the other one. But hopefully shouldn't come to that. Sean Romig and Lee Peterson rounding out your top five there in the points. Taking a look at the teams as well. That's also been decided both for first and second. Punto CL Racing over Movano Racing. And then, of course, V-Power is ahead of One Sim GTR White. They can't be caught there, you can see. In fact, the first battle that we've got is for fourth and fifth. The One Sim GTR teams, the white and the black team, are trying to settle that one out. Certainly things got sorted pretty early there in that championship. But one thing that's also been sorted early is the details for this race. Adam, what have we got there?
All right, we got round 10 here for, this is the final round. Yes, round 10 for the PRL GTE series. We got all four cars here, the Porsche, Ferrari, Ford GT, and BMW. Well, I don't see a Ford out on track currently, so it's just going to be 3 tonight. Our race distance tonight is 60 minutes and open setup, so they're going to have pit stops tonight. An incident cap is 20, and they get 1 bonus point for a fast lap, pole, or 3 or less incidents. So it's going to be very interesting to see who gathers those tonight, especially in that battle for second.
A quick reminder that we have a merchandise store here on GSRC. Go and check that out. We got a link in the description, and one of the new items we've added are the flat bill caps. We've got a white and a black version, and we've actually added a cool feature to these. We've got a DRS button now. You can press that, and it'll give you extra speed when you're walking. If you're stuck in a crowd, make it easier to try and get through and get past people. If you feel you're being held up. So go grab one of those and make sure that you don't get into work late. Right now in qualifying, Lupo actually up at the top, and Christian Eisler, who was quickest in much of the warm-up, is currently on the outside of the front row. Looking at their times as well here, Adam, it seems like they've got quite an advantage over everybody else.
Yeah, they really do. Those two are duking it out for the pole position right now, and I think a lot of what's been going on today has been it's been about 4 or 5 degrees increase in track temperature from practice. It was about 75, 76 in practice, and it's now gone up to 80 degrees here in qualifying. You may think that that's not a lot, but that can actually affect the driver significantly. So we're taking a look at Christian Pfeiffer going around right now, and he has set 124.331, and that's going to set him in 4th position as he hits the wall and goes on a little bit of a turtle ride. But yeah, these drivers are finding that these close quarters are a little challenging to set good qualifying times in and get a clean lap.
You see Peg Leg coming around to try and get one in for himself. Actually looks like he's abandoning now as he slows down. There's a significant wind here today, I'm noticing as well, about 15 miles an hour currently. So hoping that doesn't affect the drivers too much. I'm keeping half an eye on David Holland. He's just coming out on a warm-up lap, and he's running out of time. I think he's only going to be able to get 2 more in max. Actually, no, 1 more in, I believe, before this qualifying is over. He's lacked practice today, from what we understand. Only a couple laps before he came in, and even then he's been struggling so far, trying to get up to pace, as has shown both in the warm-up times and here in the qualifying times, because you can see he is still down in 9th. Acosta, who's been on a tear and has won so far 5 out of the 9 rounds, is in 3rd, but he started in 3rd last round, Adam, and, well, the 2 leaders caught into each other, so he wound up with the win anyway. So considering the kind of track that we're at, I'd say that 3rd still doesn't doom him to not getting another win.
No, but at the same time, track position around here is really dangerous, and that's, I think, actually what concerns me most about Holland being in ninth right now, is that track position. And also, you were saying that he's having a hard time getting up to speed, but for Holland, I would think that the most dangerous thing for him is consistency. If he has trouble being consistent here in qualifying and practice, that's just going to be even harder during the race. He's going to have to reduce his pace a little bit to stay safe, and that can be dangerous.
Looks like Garrido currently holding down fourth, who's the one that got together with Eisler last race. They were the two that were leading, and Garrido's actually giving up on the rest of his qualifying. So he's coming into the pits. Pfeffer used pit strategy quite well, which will come in handy here today. As Adam was talking, it's awful hard to pass, so if he can manage to jump some people with strategy today, maybe he could find himself with another podium, since he currently sits in fifth. Eisler, still working to try and take pole away from Bacigalupo, is coming around for one last run, and Lucas has left the track, so he's done with qualifying as the clock ticks down now to 0 and the checkered flag comes out. Kenny Rodriguez, the first across the line, improves from 22nd up to 20th, so a few positions gained for him.
Yeah, and Holland locked up his brakes going into turn 3, so that makes it so that his run is done, so he's starting at the highest of 9th. And Christian Eisler's right behind Abner Acosta here on track, so those two are going to finish one right next to the other. That's Jeff Carollo ahead of them.
Spencer Simkovich going to be the next across the line. He does so now, and he also improves a 28.4 for qualifying, but that only jumps him up one position, sadly. Carollo, who you mentioned earlier, is going to be the next one, along with Acosta and Eisler, all in quick succession. But Eisler has decided to abandon the lap. Acosta has, as he ducks off to the side. So Acosta settles for that third place at best. Carollo's down in 16th. He's got a lot of room to improve with this 125.7. Let's see what he's got. Nothing, because that one does not count. Eisler also does not improve. They stay put. Looks like the blonde also not able to get a lap. And that's actually it for our qualifying. Everybody else has already decided they've had enough of this place. Well, they're going to have to deal with it for 60 more minutes, so hopefully they don't get too content here. Our grid is set. Let's go through our starting order for today. Not the largest field we've seen, but still a decent amount, with Bacigalupo up on the pole and Christian Eisler in second next to him, still looking for another win. Abner Acosta, actually his first win this season, rather. Abner Acosta will be starting in third. Diego Garrido will be P4. Then it's Christopher Pfeffer, who does have wins on him, will be starting in the fifth position. Lennon Swaby, great qualifying for Peg Leg here today. Starting in 6th, Ratio Cal Quinn will be in the 7th spot. Then it's Ignacio Fredes in 8th, followed by David Holland fighting for that second spot of the championship all the way down in 9th, and Sean Romig in 10th.
Starting off 11th is 10 Lowendick with Luis Enriquez in the 12th position. James LeBon takes up that Lucky Baker dozen spot with Leif Peterson starting off 14th next to him. Brett Thurman is going to start off row 8 with Jeff Carollo outside of him, with Timothy Hargrave and Christopher Albright on row 9, and Joey Trungale and Kenny Rodriguez rounding out your top 20.
21st goes to James Hev with Sean Duhamel in 22nd, Donald Olson in 23rd. We watched Spencer Simkovich improve to the 24th spot, which demoted Gary Schilling down to 25th and last today. As we get ready to take off for our pace lap here, which is thankfully only a couple corners, just real quick around. We do have a pit reporter with us today, Rem Ambrosi down there. Rem, you've actually watched and raced with a few of these guys here in the PRL series. Do you have your eye on any of them in particular that are looking good today?
Well, Joe, look, there's a few in the top 5 that are looking pretty good. As you mentioned before, David Holland is struggling a little bit out there and going to fight for that second position. But I would say that Guadalupe, I'm sorry if I mentioned that wrong, he's got a real strong chance.
Bacigalupo, yeah, he's certainly looking strong. Thanks for that, Rem. As we now wait for the last of them to make their way out there, Lowendick, Eisler, Garrido, Acosta, I think are the last few, as looks like they're all popping on now. Hopefully don't get anybody starting from pit lane, which wouldn't be too surprised since it can be a little bit tough to make it through both 1, 2, and 3 without getting tangled up with other drivers. But no, everybody's out on the grid as we now should see the Porsche pace car take off and lead them around the final 3 corners on our way to 60 minutes of racing with a single pit stop out here today. These 2 very treacherous final effective corners and then 1 flat out final turn 14. These could be those danger zones that we have to watch out for drivers smacking into that outside wall. There goes the Porsche pace car now ducking in as Bacigalupo leads the way in his Ferrari. Green flag is out as he accelerates away, gets a nice jump over Eisler. A little bit of a battle for 3rd place with Acosta, having Garrido come around the outside. Garrido's going to have the inside, though, of turn 2 as now they come over the hump. Oh, and they come together. They get it straightened out in time. Nobody else looks to be having issues in that pack, but boy, that was dangerous there, Adam.
That was very dangerous, and Abner Acosta and Ignacio are right next to one another, and look at this. Abner Acosta is going to cut off Ignacio a little bit. That's going to bottle up everyone behind him. Lyndon Swampy's the one who takes the worst of it. He's going to actually look to the inside of Horatio Calquin ahead of him, and that's going to allow David Holland. He's still in 9th position, but he's looking on the back of Lyndon Swampy right now.
So obviously very single file through much of the field. Through these narrow first portions, it's looking pretty good otherwise as they already break down into the fountain section. Bit of a battle here. This is between Acosta and Pfeffer. Pfeffer to the inside at turn 7 gets a bump from behind on Acosta. I wonder if Abner got a little bit of damage from that. It looks like Fred is now sizing him up, but it's once again very single file heading through the fountain section. Maybe he could get something coming down to turn 2 next time. Out of there, everybody looking to avoid that outside wall as they pick up speed, Adam.
It looked to me like Pfeffer caught a little bit of that outside wall. He's got a little bit of wing damage on that Porsche. He's looking really unstable. He's actually got to pull over to the side here and pit, so he must have picked up some significant damage. But Acosta's under attack from Fredes, who's not going to look into turn 1. But man, Acosta breaking early for Fredes. Fredes got to go around the outside.
And he actually slows down quite a bit. Calquin gets through. And this is backing up Swaby, Holland, Lowendick. They're getting all tangled up here, and you can see they're fanning out to try and find position. Swaby around the outside as Fredes tries to defend, but it looks like he's muscling his way through. Linden not quite done yet. For turn 4, another right-hander, and he falls back.
David Holland has just been trapped behind multiple battles ever since the start of the race. Has not been able to improve his position much. He is up to 8th, though, so he's looking on in this battle and hoping that these 2 can sort it out quickly so that he can make his way by.
So as that's been happening, Acosta still has Calquin behind him. Does look like he's a little bit slow, but we understand that Rem has rushed over to the screens on the pit wall for Acosta. Have you found any damage on the car from what you've been looking on their cameras?
No, Joe. Looks like his car is totally fine, and he's not losing any top speed at all on the straights either. So I would say no damage whatsoever.
Mysterious problems here for Acosta. Then I'm not sure why he continues to be under attack. He's fallen to 4th. He's already got the championship though, so really today is just for personal pride as now we switch back up to the leaders. Bacigalupo ahead of Eisler, ahead of Garrido.
And interestingly enough, Garrido just put in the fastest lap of the day, so he's got some pace underneath him. Eisler looks like he's struggling a little bit with a loose on-exit setup. I was watching him in practice, and it looks like he was a little tight on entry, loose on exit, and that can cause some big problems around here because you're burning off front tires on entry and rear tires on exit, and that can be a problem, especially as we get later on in this race. Track temperature continues to go up 1 degree from qualifying. Not that much, but that wind has not died down yet, Joe.
Right on board with Diego as he rides behind Eisler down into turn 7. Not close enough to attack this time. Interesting to note about Diego is that this is not the first time he's had contact with Acosta this season. I believe it was in Barcelona where they also came together, and it was Eisler who came out the worst as he was behind them and ran into Diego after that. This time, though, he was ahead of him and thankfully didn't catch any of that action. But certainly he's still got to worry about Garrido, who chases him down through this lap and probably the next one.
Yeah, Garrido's doing a good job of staying on the back of Eisler. These three have pulled away to the likes of about 5.5 seconds right now.
I think Simkovic just had an issue. Saw him come to a halt. Oh, yes, he did. He seems to have found the tires coming out of the fountain section. Let's take a look at the replay. This seems to be a single car incident with nobody behind him, thankfully, so he didn't plug up the track. Just outbrakes himself, and oop, there she goes. Let's come back live. Sounds like we've also lost Christopher Pfeffer, and I'm not sure why. Sounds like we've had a few issues. Rem, you've been watching to see what happened here?
Look, he just stopped on the side of the road and then he just cut out, and that's all I saw. And he hasn't gone into the pits, so I don't know if he's going to the pits or he's disconnected or he's having some car issues.
We'll try to come back to Rem later to see if he can suss out what's going on with Pfeffer. Does look like he's left the server I'm seeing, so seems to be something rather serious. So we now ride on board with Cal Quinn. Excuse me, with Acosta. Looking back at Horatio Cal Quinn, who stayed right with him, still fighting for that fourth place. Ooh, he is fast down this front stretch, and he's given the inside, outbrakes him into the corner. Abner's not going to fight it. He lets him through. So move the 666 up to P4.
Joe, it honestly looks a little bit like Acosta's doing some fuel management here, which is interesting to me considering the length of this race isn't really that long, but it sure seems like there's a little bit of fuel management going on. So we're taking a look at Freda's under attack from Lyndon Swampy, who's gotten quite close the last couple laps.
We continue to watch this battle back between Fredes, Swaby, and Holland. Holland's still going to lose out on second in the championship to Eisler at this rate. He is well behind him, actually by about 10 to 11 seconds it seems currently. And we're only 7 minutes into this race. That's a lot to drop this early.
Yeah, it's definitely not time that he wants to drop, but I'm not sure if he has the pace. And oh, looks like we've had an issue.
This is trying to figure out which driver we've lost here. Oh, Trungale down in 21st right now. Oh, caught the wall.
Oh yeah, he looks like he caught the inside wall and then spun out a little bit there.
It was a good thing he caught it before it spun even harder to the inside wall. Still, you can see a little damage to the left side of the car, but he would have clipped the right side. Oh, and he's going to just simply let Kenny Rodriguez through into that 21st spot. So I wonder if he clipped the suspension and the car just isn't handling how he wants. Let's see if he actually takes it into the pits here. Yes, he is, and this is way too early. Wow, this is heartbreaking for Joey Trungale.
Yeah, Remar, you're on the pit lane. What are you seeing with that car?
Not much damage at all there. I'm just looking around the car right now. It looks like the front right side, rear and front is a little bit, a little bit of damage, but that's about.
Well, it certainly looks like he's not happy with how it came out as he comes to a halt and has certainly been sitting there now for quite a while. We come back up to second place now. Eisler starting to lose out on Bacigalupo, about a second between P1 and P2. Garrido continuing to stay glued to the rear spoiler of that 727. Sounds like we had a pass from 9th place just now as well. Sean Romig overtaking Lowendick down into the fountain section. We got the replay up right here.
He just gets a really good run here and comes alongside him. This is one of the best places to pass if you can get the braking done, but it also sets you up really weird for the next corner. But it looks like Romig just able to make it past Lowendick. Lowendick conceding the corner.
So as they continue on, Romig now looking up to Holland, but he's got a big gap up there. It's about 4 seconds between himself and 8th place. Starting to get little groups packing together. A lot of drivers spreading out, but others seeming to get plugged up behind someone who is a little bit slower than themselves. And the lead is closed in since we last looked by about half a second. I wonder if there was a mistake from Bacigalupo when we weren't looking.
Now, Bacigalupo got a little bit loose coming out of turns 1 and 2, and that loses him all of his straight line speed, so that allowed Eisler to close up. But we know how strong Bacigalupo is. We also know how strong Garrido is. So Eisler in there among two of the fastest drivers on the track right now and holding his own. It's actually quite impressive. Let's see whether or not he can challenge for the lead today.
He'll get some opportunities. And certainly we can't forget about the pit stops as well. Wonder if any of them will try something tricky. They come across to complete yet another lap. We should see pit stop, the pit windows open within about the next 8 minutes or so. Oh, and Simkovic had another issue. Looks like this one once again in the fountain section, but this time on the entry. The 012 has not been having a fun day out here.
Yeah, loose on entry. It looks like he just gets the weight transfer a little bit in an awkward position for his setup, and that just sends him around. Luckily, he didn't hit anything, and he recovered well.
And speaking of the setups, the temperatures have continued to rise since late in the warm-up, since the sun is going up. It's 83 degrees Fahrenheit right now.
Yeah,
So I
we're
wonder
up.
if that's affecting some driving.
We are up 10 degrees from the start of practice today, and that's a huge, huge temperature difference. So these cars are not driving like they were in practice, and that can be some of why we're seeing the issues that we are. Some of these drivers knew it was going to go that direction. Others probably didn't anticipate it. But look at this. Garrido on the back of Eisler. This is getting really close.
Yeah, I love that camera angle just riding on the roof of the car. Shows you how close he's getting both to Eisler and to the walls as well. Boy, he had a slide out of the fountain section once again. That cost Garrido maybe half a tenth through there. But certainly and look at him fall back a little bit, as it seems like maybe that's his weak point. Meanwhile, the 303, yeah, off course.
I think he just outbraked himself. We're going to see it here on the replay.
I think he made the wise decision. Let's see, because I thought he just dove himself down. Yep, he straight lines it. He decides his discretion is the better part of valor, and just bites, takes the penalty, pulls off into the runoff, and then gets it going once again.
Okay, I just saw something really interesting happen. We have Lyndon Swaby, Ignacio Rodriguez Fredes, and David Holland down in this battle for 6th position. And Holland had a really good run on Swaby, and he came alongside him and then just backed out of it in the middle of the straight. So that was a really interesting decision from Holland, who knows that he needs to get as many points as possible this race. But Joe, it's just looking to me like he's less and less confident about his driving around this track.
I mean, maybe he's thinking potentially long-term in terms of the race itself, that it's better for him to just take it easy and not risk the car. There is going to be some attrition, I anticipate, so I don't know. I'm spitballing here at this point.
Well, Swaby, regardless, is on the back of Fredes now and is looking quite strong, but he hasn't been able to make this pass in the full 9 laps that we've run here so far. So these Ferraris are set up quite evenly, and it's allowing Fredes to hold that track position.
So we ride on board here with Swaby. Just behind. Looks like the Ferraris are strong today at this track, certainly, as they are holding lots of the top positions. We only get our first non-Ferrari down in 9th with Romig in a Porsche.
Yeah, the Ferraris are very strong around most tracks right now, and especially around this track, the high-powered BMW and the Porsche, they just tend to spin their rear tires a lot, especially with the increasing temperatures and high winds. It can be really dangerous to drive those cars right now. So taking a look, Ted Lowendick and Luis Hernandez have come together, and this is Luis in a Ford as well.
And I think that's the lone Ford. And they are indeed fighting right now for the 10th position, trying to sort out who gets to claim top 10 honors. The blue Ford, as we ride on its rear wing, closes up under braking down into the fountain section. sticking right with that Ferrari. In fact, closes well. Look at how tightly behind him he is. Less than a car length. They're not too far behind Romig as well. If he could manage to get by Lowendick, I almost wonder if Enriquez could try and run down Sean.
Yeah, but the place where Enriquez is really weak with Lowendick is on corner exit. He's not as strong there, and that's actually where you need to be strong in order to make passes around this track. Being strong through the technical sections doesn't gain you positions around Detroit. So he's going to have to find a way to get good exits off the corners if he wants to close up to Lowendick and make a pass.
In the meantime, I notice on my timing and scoring, it looks like Trungale has since been in and out. Rim, I see you've been watching down in that pit stall. Any news on that?
Not at the moment, although he did sit in there for quite a while, and I'm not sure what he's been. Sorry.
Does look like he's left the session here, so I do believe we've lost Joey Trungale. Meanwhile, Garrido has managed to take second place away. And for some reason, it almost looks like it was willingly here. He was just slow down the backstretch and then decided not to defend or do much.
Yeah, defense around this track can feel very sketchy. It can be one of those things that you don't want to try and do, but looking at this, it looks to me like Eisler's starting to back out of this battle a little bit. He hasn't tried to get back up to the back of Garrido very strongly. Joe, I think some people might have short field today.
Yeah, it could be a case of some drivers having to try and be a little tight out here, a little light with their right foot. So you watch them come through turn 4 and into 5 now. I see Albright has gone into the pits and since come back out. He's our last driver running. I said attrition should play a part, but yet had two.
James LeBlanc has been around.
No! That was LeBlanc with his teammate from SRT, Hargrave. Gets into him. Oh, and now he's off the track. Finally, his cars had to slow up to try and avoid him. I think Hargrave might still be trying to get turned around. Nope, he's also going to take a tow. This started with LeBlanc. It's the hump. Corvette corner.
And Hargrave coming across, he just misjudges it, can't decide which way to go, and just clobbers his teammate. That's going to be a tough conversation in the hauler tonight.
Unfortunately, both of them severely damaged. We'll get down to Rem once he's been able to hustle down to their stalls and see if he can get us an update on if they could even look like they could come back into this race. Meanwhile, back to Garrido. Now that he has gotten by Eisler, he needs to look ahead to Bacigalupo. We'll wait a couple laps to see what their lap comparisons look like. But right now, he's 1.3 back, so certainly not hassling him.
Actually, I want to take us down to P6 because it looks like Lyndon Swaby may have an opportunity on Freitas. Freitas is going to go defensive here, and Swaby's not going to take the opportunity. Joe, I'm really surprised, honestly, at the lack of aggression tonight because a lot of these guys have had really good opportunities to make late dives or late passes, but I think the intimidation of these concrete walls is keeping people out of the throttle.
Yeah, I mean, there's no spare car for these drivers, so if they get damaged, they simply have to sit and deal with it. And we did say, as soon as you said he's not being aggressive, he took a look to the inside of turn 4, which isn't usually a place to pass. So I'm not sure what he's thinking exactly, but Lyndon currently sits in 7th, and he's been riding on the back of Freitas for a couple laps now. I have to imagine we got to see something from him eventually. If not, maybe he'll try and get him in the pit stops.
Well, it's just one of these things where you either make the pass or you back off and save fuel or tires, because riding this close behind somebody, especially in these downforce reliant GTE cars, can actually cause you to lose more tire wear. But Freitas is making a lot of small mistakes, which around Detroit can add up to losing a position. So Swaby has a really good opportunity here if he can get a good run through 1 and 2.
See if he's got it this time. He looked close last time. Up and over Corvette corner, across the hump. down towards the statue in turn 3. He's certainly not looking close enough this time, even though he pokes his nose out a little bit. Comes back to the racing line. He'll have to try again later. Rem's been circling the cars down in the SRT pits. Rem, can you see the drivers still in the car? Do they look like they have intentions of getting back out, or have they since hopped out?
Hargraves has just hopped out. He had a full-on front-end damage, complete front end, and I presume that it was going to take too long for the pit stall. LeBlanc, on the other hand, it seems like he's still gone as well.
It looks like we got a pass on screen, and Swaby can't quite get it done. A defensive move from Fredes is going to fend him off, but also allow Holland to start to close in. That'll be helpful for our hopeful for second place. Sorry about that there, Rem. Any other news down there?
No, as I was saying, LeBlanc is still in there. He's still in the car, and I presume he's going to wait to see how he's going to go to get back out on track. But the car is heavily damaged, so I'm not really sure if he's going to go back out or not.
Well, thanks for that, as we got another look for P6. This time down into turn 1 is Swaby getting extremely aggressive. He must have been listening to you, Adam, because now suddenly the fight has entered him.
Yeah, and Fredes is taking some really unoptimal lines. This is going to make his tire temperatures go through the roof, and that could definitely affect his pace in these slower sections. So Swaby just has to stay consistent, stay on his back bumper, keep the pressure on, and hope that Fredes makes a mistake onto one of these straights. This is a good pressure from him.
Tell you what, Holland is watching down in that 8th position, and I'm not sure if he's nervous or excited about this one, or maybe both, because if he does get them battling enough, it could offer him a chance to try and get through. Swaby once again going to have to work the hard way around down in the fountain section as Fredes covers off the inside. He's deep onto the brakes. Too wide into here is extremely difficult, but they're going to try it. It's going to give them the inside in the next corner. It's slowing them down both so much. And look at how much Holland is all over them now. Still, Fredes is going to try and deny him as it once again switches back around the outside, carrying the momentum. Look at that, a power move from Linden. Oh, now and Holland gets into Fredes, both of them into the wall.
Fredes crossed over. He didn't expect Holland to be there after the battle. Holland had stuck his nose in, and Fredes crossed over into his line, and that puts Holland, he's towed now. This is huge championship points implication.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Holland can come back from this unless Eisler himself wrecks, and it's a matter of who limps home. I'm not sure that they'll see much out there. Did Sean Romig run into the wall after them as well? We're going to watch it from above. Yeah, watch Sean Romig as soon as this incident happens here. He takes evasive action to get through, and he manages to miss both of them, but he must have been looking in his mirrors, Adam, because watch this.
Oh, yeah.
Whoops.
I think
there, bud.
Definitely, he missed his braking point because often you don't set up your braking point for that moment. So that's very interesting to see that he hits the wall that hard, but very interesting there.
He still manages to get 7th place, though, because I think both those drivers came in for repairs, but it has allowed Henriquez to get close behind him. There you see Fredes with the damage on his nose, looks like left front as well. Unfortunately, severely bent up. We come back now to the Ford, the only Ford, the number 55 of Henriquez, following Romig through the fountain section.
Enriquez has been doing this battle for a very long time, and he's about as close as he's been all day, but his lack of exit speed is starting to bite him. But Enriquez is a new target. Well, not a new target for him, but he's a soft target for him, so I think this could be a good opportunity for him.
And I saw Rem's been running up and down the pit lane. I don't know if you saw Rem, but it looked like Abner Acosta came in. Do you have anything to report on him? Was his schedule?
No, it was unscheduled, but on a quick other point, Fredes has come in and his car is heavily damaged on the front end to the left-hand side. I don't really think he'll be coming back.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye on on the timing and scoring to see if he can come in, if I can get my throat cleared, as we watch Garrido, who has now caught Bacigalupo. Let's look at those lap times. It certainly seems to be much closer. How consistent is it, though, between them? down to 0.6 of a second right now. Yeah, Garrido was chopping away at every lap except for the last one, actually. That was the only time that he lost time.
Yeah, I've been watching this battle, and actually the two of them are being kind of consistently inconsistent recently over the last couple laps. Each one will lose some time in different sectors. We're seeing Garrido dive over the grass here in this first sector, which reduces his speed a little bit coming onto the straight. So unfortunately, that's going to be losing him a little bit of time. But Garrido, with that rear end damage, I'm surprised he's as quick as he is. Eisler's fallen back to 1.5 seconds though.
Boy, we watched Bacigalupo really bound over the curb at turn 3 as well. Got to be careful with that, as easily as these cars can find themselves sliding into the concrete. Now onto the backstretch once more, getting close to the halfway point. And I think we've got a little bit of update on Acosta and that stop. Rem, did you go and talk to the team, figure out if that was scheduled or not?
No, I couldn't get a hold of the team, but I would have to say that this track is really demanding on suspension. So when these cars are coming in and I'm not seeing any damage, but they're sitting there for a bit, I would have to say that they're getting slight suspension damage.
There could be a few drivers brushing the wall out there for sure. We've seen a few come in definitely unscheduled. And Heb on screen between turns 5 and 6. How did he do this?
Climbed the curb, Joe. Climbed the curb quite hard. Watch this. Way up on two wheels, and that just unsettles the suspension and puts his nose into the wall.
Right on board through turn 4 and then into 5. I think you're right. Whew. Wow, yeah, he clouded that thing way too hard.
And at that point, you're just bouncing along the track, and there's no way to recover your traction. So if you don't lock it down in that moment, your rear tires continue to spin because of the way that the diff works, and that just sends you straight into the wall.
Boy, Heb's car, both sides on the front and back, looking relatively damaged here. His teammate, Jean Romig, still dealing with a lot of action with Henriquez behind him in 7th place. And actually, they've caught Ted Lowendick, I'm just noticing. Lowendick in 6th. It's making this a 3-car fight as you see them now head onto the backstretch.
Yeah, Romig has been pressured by Enriquez for the last couple of laps, and that has pushed him forward, pushed them both forward into Lowendick, who Enriquez was battling with earlier on in the race. And so this is very interesting to see these 3 cars come together. It looks like Enriquez is better on the longer runs.
Certainly has been putting the pressure on the number 55 for quite a few laps. We keep checking in on it here and there with no results, unfortunately, for the Ford. This is where Romig lost his time down into turn 12. Both of them clean through that, and 13 as well. Wonder if we'll see Henriquez maybe peel off a little early, see if he can get the leapfrog.
I think that might be the best option for him because Enriquez is really struggling on corner exit, so that's making his pace drop a little bit.
Looks like Carollo down into the pits as well. He came in from 11th position, if I'm seeing correctly. Looks like about 9th position. He gets back out. Looks like that was a scheduled stop, 14 quick seconds, and he is on his way back up to our leaders once more. Diego losing a little bit of ground here now.
Yeah, it stayed pretty consistent between these two. They're both running around the same times. Bacigalupo will gain some time one lap and then Garrido the next. So these two, it looks like Bacigalupo is managing the pace well to Garrido behind.
Just an update, Carollo returned in 14th. We haven't talked about it yet because we don't have the biggest field here today, but especially with pit stops happening, I wonder if lap traffic could play a factor in today.
Well, it definitely could. They're catching up to lap traffic, actually. They'll be up to lap traffic probably in the next 2 or 3 laps. So that's going to start to play an effect. And I think that with these leaders who have yet to pit, it's definitely going to be down to when they catch those lap cars. I think that that would be a good time for Bacigalupo to try and come in, get a little bit more clean track, and come back out and try and do the undercut on Garrido.
I agree. As we watch this battle working its way through, that's lap traffic itself, actually. Simkovic, who's had more issues we haven't covered necessarily, already a lap down and in 17th place, being passed by Duhamel, Carollo, and Rodriguez. But Carollo's the only one of these three that has pitted across the start-finish line once more. He won't want to be held up for too long here. He's got to start making some inroads and get by these guys, or else he'll start to lose time. And this might be a good chance at him because it looks like a slow exit for Duhamel.
And an excellent exit for Carollo. He's going to dive to the inside, which is the preferred racing line. Can he outbrake him into the corner? No, he has to stay behind. Rodriguez behind them actually outbrakes himself and parks himself on the apex of the corner. He's able to keep going, though.
And Carollo did get the spot because Duhamel left him an opening. Meanwhile, Henriquez, what happened here? Did he lose spots, actually?
Fun. He came into the corner too hot and actually spun out. It's very kind of him to put his nose into the wall to avoid getting hit by the cars coming in behind. But he comes into this corner too hot. Take a look at this replay.
Yeah, it's just starting to swing around. There's not much he could do, and eventually he had to try and do a little K-turn, get it going once again. He returns in 9th. Brett Thurman gets a spot from that. He's up to 8th. This relieves Sean Romig, who is in 7th. He no longer has pressure from behind for the first time in many laps now.
And interestingly enough, up at the lead, Bacigalupo has pulled to about 1.3 seconds over Garrido, who's been falling back into the clutches of Eisler, who's got Garrido in front of him only under about 1 second. So very interesting to see Garrido's pace dropping a little bit. I think he's decided that he's not going to be able to catch Bacigalupo before the pit stops. So this might be a little bit of management from him.
Unusual to see anybody be able to run away from Garrido with his typically quick pace. As all this has been going on, we haven't really covered the pits too much. Rim, I understand you've seen a few cars come in and out. What's the scoop down there?
The main scoop here is Gary Schilling. He's got some very heavy damage on the right-hand side, but opted not to take repairs, and he's back out on track, and he's not doing...
Thanks for that update, Rem. Sounds like Gary Schilling, one of the most recent victims from the walls of Detroit. It's a rough town. Certainly is roughing up a lot of cars now as the race progresses. Almost seems like the rate at which cars are finding problems is picking up as the race goes on. Still watching our leader that you see in the green, white, and red machine. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, Joe, the lead's closed down quite a bit. Bacigalupo made a couple of mistakes through the first sector here, and that's allowed Garrido to get right on the back of him. This has fired up Garrido again. Garrido's now back up to pace, so very interesting that Garrido's pace has increased now. Looks like he's smelling blood in the water.
So trying something maybe at this point. And they are coming up on Donald Olson. I think he's going to be the first one that they lap. He's actually within visible distance of our leader. There you can see just up ahead as we ride on board with Garrido.
But this is going to get interesting because I think they're going to catch him down the back straight, which would be a good time. But we'll see whether or not Donald Olson is aware of them, or else if that doesn't happen, they're going to catch him in the technical section after the back straight, and that could be really disastrous for Bacigalupo.
Absolutely. And as they come onto the back stretch, unless Olson slows up big time, and right now they're not going to get by here. Indeed they won't. Just behind them, that is Christian Eisler, still within touch. Ever since he lost that second place, he's been holding on. It's from these top three on the podium that you get a big stretch back to Cal Quinn. about 7.8 seconds. All right, they rock up to the back of Donald Olson now as they come out of turn 11 down towards 12. Is Olson pitted? Yes, Olson has been in and out. So this needs to be Bacigalupo who pits, but he's going to try and let him through. That's good for Bacigalupo, good for Garrido, and good for Eisler.
If everyone making it by, Donald Olson doing a good job pulling aside for the leaders who are going by, but Garrido is quite close to Bacigalupo at this stage, and he's really starting to put the pressure.
So far, so good for Garrido. Other than a little touch at the start, this has been, I'd say, good behavior for Diego. We've kind of been a little bit harsh on him, a little critical lately, talking about how aggressive he is and whatnot, but he's just been waiting back there, both behind Eisler, waiting for a mistake and then taking advantage of it, and now just chilling behind Bacigalupo, looking for an opportunity when one approaches. Brett Thurman, in the meantime, looks like he's coming down towards Rem. Rem, have you had anybody else other than Brett come in and out since we last looked?
No, Joe. Not that I've noticed, I'm sorry to say. I've been running up and down this track and looking at damaged cars, and I'm still looking at whose car was it? Fredez is still in there.
Oh, yeah, Fredez is still taking repairs down there? Wow.
Yeah, I don't think he's coming back out, Joe.
It certainly doesn't look like it. I'm checking the time and in scoring. He's been in there for 13 and a half minutes. That's a very long time. There's not many cars he could be able to get points back from this time. Thanks for that update, Rem, as we now hop back on board with Garrido. 0.4 of a second behind Bacigalupo. Not close enough as they come down into turn 3, but they've got another bit of lap traffic. 2 cars this time, Rodriguez and Simkovic.
Amazingly enough, these leaders are our closest battle on track, and they've got traffic to deal with. They're the only battle that does have traffic to deal with, so Bacigalupo is going to have to navigate these guys very cleanly and very concisely. Let's see where Rodriguez decides to go here.
He's pulling over, but so is Simkovic. There they go. Now they communicate enough to get on the same side and let them through. 1 and 2 and maybe 3. A bit of an awkward line, unfortunately, for Christian Eisler. That's going to cost him. Those two were not on the same lap, so Simkovic was not giving up a position to Rodriguez there. Hence why he let him by. But that was a little costly for Eisler.
Yeah, Eisler lost a little bit of time, but look at this pressure that Garrido is putting on Bacigalupo ahead of him. It's going to be interesting to see what these guys pit, because this pressure is starting to get really hot.
With this just a little bit longer. I'm keeping half an eye on this and an eye on the battle for 6th position, which is also closing in. These onboards just show you how narrow this place is and also how bumpy this track is.
This track is extremely bumpy and it's extremely difficult. As you just saw there, Garrido had a really he had a hard time keeping the car underneath him as he exited too. He got really close to the wall there and wasn't able to close on Bacigalupo on that straight, so that kept him behind.
See them working their way through the right of 4, 5, and 6. Not missing anything up in 6 right now. This is the closer fight. Actually, just as I say that, Romig pits now.
Yeah, Sean Romig in from P7. This looks scheduled. Rem, what are you seeing down there?
Just seeing him come in and his car looks just fine, and I think he's just going to go for fuel and he's back out again.
Yep, getting the last of that in as the seconds tick down, about 12.4. It's actually one of the quicker stops we've had today of the scheduled stops. Back out, and that's going to return him ahead of Jeff Carollo and in 11th position.
That's some good gains for him in the pits. That shorter pit stop time gained him about 2 seconds over some of the other guys who have pit. The fastest pit stop time we've seen today has been Simkovic with 11.5. But Simkovic had his own issues that he was dealing with. So back up to the leaders now, and they're dealing with the lap traffic of Duhamel. Duhamel pulls over to let them both by.
Doesn't want to get involved in that. With 1, 2, and 3 all through. So these 3 drivers, Bacigalupo, Garrido, and Eisler, in order that you see them on screen, first, second, and third, have been pretty much this close all race long if you're just joining us. All 3 have yet to take their pit stops, and we're waiting to see if any of them can maybe pull the wool over the other in that fashion. Now, we haven't talked about Acosta lately, but even though he's had a stop, remember, he has to make one more. He's down in 9th. He was the one that had contact with Garrido on lap 1, corner 2, trying to make something of this final round of the season, having already claimed the championship. There you see him on screen.
Yeah, and Joe, I'm convinced that he short-fueled his car. He took 22 seconds in the pits to take fuel, and I think that he realized that he was going to be short and decided to get out of the traffic that he was dealing with up at the front and try and get some clean track and put some time on these guys. But I think it might be too little too late because he's 50 seconds off the lead.
Yeah, I'm seeing he's been out there for 12 laps. That might be... He might be able to make it to the end. Not entirely sure. Certainly isn't the send-off that he wanted after taking championship number 2 as we check back in on our leaders. And it looks like Lennon Swaby is in. As he trundles down pit lane, the number 100, looking for his stall. Started this thing in 6th position. He's been driving in P5. 1 up for him. Lowendick is going to follow him down the pit lane. Do believe we're starting to get the dominoes to fall.
And we'll see whether or not that triggers the leaders to come in as well.
Swaby's back out. Lowendick getting his work on the car. Acosta has gone by. If he is managing to go to the end from here, be an impressive run. Excuse me, Acosta actually is out behind Linden, rather.
Oh. And that was
first. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, that was Bacigalupo coming into the pit lane right there. Rem, you're down there taking a look. Is he coming in for his scheduled stop?
He absolutely is, and he's just pulling in right now. I'm just running up to the car, and I'm going to see if I can see any damage at all. It looks like he still has that left-hand front rear right damage, but I'm not sure if he's going to take the repairs or not.
Watching on the cameras now as he takes off. That was a good stop. 10.5, very good stop for him. Apologies there, Adam. When I saw the timing and scoring change, I thought we had a pass for the lead on, but it was just pit stops happening here. Bacigalupo coming out in 4th after that.
Yeah, that's a great stop from him. A fantastic stop. That's the fastest of the day, and I think that has everything to do with the fact that he went long. I think he's been planning to do this one-stop long fuel stint for a while. Leif Peterson's in as well.
Critically, he came out ahead of Gary Schilling, so that gives a lot of clean air to Bacigalupo, so he didn't get caught in lap traffic. Leif Peterson, you can see on screen, going down the order as he gets his work done and is now back out. Let's see, he was in a battle with Carollo when Carollo pitted, I want to say.
And Garrido's in as well. Rem, taking a look at that car coming in.
Looks like we've...
Sorry, I was just looking at Heb. I was just looking at Heb's car. He came in and went out and opted for no repairs. Very damaged car.
Wow, brave move from Heb. So is Garrido maybe going to be able to get Bacigalupo here in the pit stops? Lucas is coming across the line now. Garrido is moving. And Lucas is through, and he's got the lead back once the pit cycle works out, we believe, because he is ahead of Diego.
What's fascinating about that is that Bacigalupo's pit stop was about 0.6 faster than Garrido's, but Garrido comes back out and he's still within a second. So Bacigalupo's outlap was not necessarily that quick.
And we understand, we're getting reports from him that Garrido did not get the damage repaired while he sat there. So he just has elected to try and focus on using what he's got. We're still waiting on Eisler and Henriquez to pit. Those are our final two.
And Joe, these two, Bacigalupo and Garrido, are coming up on the... Oh no! We had a car in the wall. That's Donald Olson as Christian Eisler comes in.
Olson looks like he found the tire barrier down at turn 7 in the fountain section, and drivers behind him had to take evasive action very quickly, including our leaders, Bacigalupo and Garrido. There you see them swinging by.
I was about to mention that they were coming up on the battle between Semkovic and it's just Semkovic, and it's just really a dangerous situation that they came up upon. But taking a look at Garrido and Eisler just coming out of the pit lane now. Let's see whether or not he cannot make up that position. He's going to come up behind these two.
There's a quick stop for him as well. 10.7, just about a couple tenths slower than Bacigalupo. Our quickest so far seems to be Horatio Calquin behind them in 4th. Not that it did him much good, considering he's about 10 seconds back.
And Joe, Abner Acosta has had an issue, and he's coming back into the pits. It looks like he hit the wall coming through Sunset Bend.
Oh, no. Day went from bad to worse. There you see him clattering into the tires. Just overshot it big time. That was Swaby he was behind. I think that was for position as well.
Oh, that's a hard hit, Joe. Into the tires, and then he tries to carry speed again, and it's not going to work. Rem, you're taking a look at his car right now. What kind of damage has he got?
He's got severe front left-hand damage. He's opted for repairs, though, as his car's lifted up. So I'm thinking that he's going to try and repair this car before coming back out.
Yeah, looks like he's taking tires there, so... I believe he does intend to at least try and get it back on track as we come back to our leaders. While it went well for Garrido, Eisler falls back to about a second behind the first two. But now, Adam, Diego's got to do it on track.
Yep, he's got to do it on track, so he's turned up the aggression, and Bacigalupo has turned up his pace as well, so these two are now going all out. They've lit the afterburners, and they're duking it out with one another. Christian Eisler actually has made up about 0.4 seconds since coming out of his stop, in which he lost time on pit road. So, wow, look at how close Garrido is getting through the technical section, but he takes it a little bit too deep into that corner. And as they come back out onto the straight, I think Bacigalupo is going to get a better run here.
Doesn't look like it's a good one for Garrido, unfortunately. As you pointed out, Bacigalupo looking much better down the backstretch. Oh, hard into the turn as Garrido nearly takes himself out.
Garrido is pushing very hard right now, but he's got too tight of a setup to make that aggressiveness work. But at the same time, he's tight on entry, but he's also extremely loose through the center of the corner. And I think that might have to do with the damage he's collected. But this is allowing Christian Eisler to close back up. Christian only 0.5 behind.
Can we get an onboard replay with Garrido down into turn 7? That was a great save, honestly. Just it cost him time, unfortunately. Here we go. Need to back up just a little bit farther, I believe, as it was coming into the fountain.
So here he comes onto the straight. You can see him get a little bit loose on exit, and that's gonna put him farther behind Bacigalupo than he wants. So he decides to try and outbrake him a little bit to gain the time back into the corner, and he brakes and just barely hangs on to it. Really impressive stuff from him.
Wow, no counter steering though. I thought for sure that he was sliding that car through there. But he's coming up to it again. Oh, did he catch the wall? Oh, you can see the damage on the left side now.
That's definitely going to light up Eisler. Eisler's going to be thinking to himself, now is the time. He's been a shark waiting for the blood in the water. He's smelling it now. He's going to close up behind Garrido and try and make this pass soon, I think.
The sharks swimming in ice water for the Iceman, Christian Eisler. currently coming out of the fountain section. He's not closing as quickly as you would have expected. Maybe Garrido got a little bit lucky that the car wasn't too damaged suspension-wise out of there.
Or it's good. Where it's really going to punish him is on the straights. We're going to see whether or not he can do it.
Bad news, I'm seeing that Acosta has wheeled his car back behind the wall. So it looks like the number 5 is done for today after the damage we watched from the wreck in turn 12.
Oh, James Hebb is around.
He is. Oh, and he's in the middle of the racing line as our leaders go by. They all managed to avoid him. That was out of turn 3. Here's the replay on how this started.
He just outbrakes himself a little bit, gets into the grass, and tries to get on the throttle, and that spins him around. And the leaders, everyone having to dodge him while he's on the racing line. He tries to get out of the way. Oh, man, that is close.
Yeah, you could see how quickly they all saw and just went as far off to the right as they could to make sure they don't get clipped. But down in 6th place, look at this. Oh, that's very close to the wall. Henriquez has to gather up that Ford. He was looking like he might have something for Romig, but it's not meant to be.
Yeah, and he's close behind, and Lee Peterson...
And Romig into the wall, sorry. Romig just outbraked himself, and Henriquez takes it on a silver platter.
Yet this is one of those moments where the pressure from behind can cause mistakes. We see this sometimes in these series, and look at this. Sean Romig just braking a little bit too hard, and he turns in, doesn't take that access road because he thought he could make the turn. He just could not do it.
Ugh, that is unfortunate after how well he was keeping Henriquez behind him, but credit to the 55 waiting patiently all race long, and it eventually came to him. Meanwhile, back up at the front, Garrido's closed it down to within 0.3 of a second at times, and Eisler himself has now finally turned up the wick and has made this a 3-way fight.
Yeah, Eisler is putting Garrido as the meat in the sandwich here, and Garrido's actually got a really good run. Let's see whether or not he can make a move on Bacigalupo at the end of this straight. He's going to have to brake really hard to do it.
He gets to within a car length. He's not quite there. They're both taking a lot of curb.
That was close, and he's going to try and do the over-under here. He's going to go to the inside.
He might actually pull this off. Oh, they come together. Side-to-side contact, elbows out for Garrido, and he makes the pass work. For the first time this race, we have a new leader.
Well, Garrido's got enough damage on his car. He doesn't care whether it gets banged up anymore. He just puts the door to Bacigalupo and goes through on the inside. Let's see whether Eisler can capitalize as well.
Not sure that they are close enough coming down into turn 1. We're going to look at the replay for the pass in a second here. As soon as we see whether or not they are under threat coming down into turn 3, I don't think anybody's going to have a chance here at this point. Just a little bit too far apart is a little bit of a look from Eisler, but I think he's just showing himself in the mirrors. Bacigalupo with a slight mistake down into turn 4, maybe. Eager stuff now from the Iceman, applying lots of pressure.
Let's see whether or not Bacigalupo can hold his traction coming out of this corner onto the straight. Eisler's got really good exit speed right now, but Bacigalupo loses it a little bit. That's going to give an opportunity to Eisler. If Bacigalupo stays to the inside, Eisler's going to have to do it the hard way.
Christian looks off to the left as a defensive move from Bacigalupo forces it, but he's way deep on the brakes. Can he stop it? No, he can't. He takes the position as Eisler moves to P2, and Bacigalupo has to get it turned around. I'm going to watch the replay of the initial pass here. No, this is the mistake that lost him second. I thought he was going to get into the leader for a second there.
That's what I thought too, Joe. I was so worried he was going to lawn dart Garrido, but fortunately he was able to woe it up enough to keep that from happening, and also managed to keep it almost out of the wall there. This is the initial pass.
Right on board with Diego. You know, it looks like he caught a little bit of the curb, and that maybe is what caused him to drift out into him. Fair play, though. He made it stick. Didn't wreck him. As we come back live, your new order now is Garrido leading, Eisler in second. Bacigalupo did manage to get going before Cal Quinn could pass him, but just barely. It's about half a second between third and fourth.
Eisler is leaving no margin out on the track. He is getting as close to those walls as he possibly can, trying to get as much speed and take as much room and get as much speed on Garrido as possible. I don't think Eisler is satisfied beating Holland just on Holland's DNF today. I think he wants to go out with a win.
A moment to remove your hats for the fallen. We've had a lot of drivers who are out this race. Pfeffer, Trungale, Hargrave, LeBlanc, Holland, unfortunately, is going to lose that second place in the championship. Fredes and Acosta have all retired. Olsen looks like he is joining them as he is still in the pits. Back down to Bacigalupo. Cal Quinn, out of nowhere, probably thinking, I could spray the champagne today. Look at this.
Every opportunity to gain a position is one you need to look at seriously as a race car driver. You cannot give up a position just on kindness. But look at that. Cal Quinn having trouble keeping up with Bacigalupo on the straight line speed, even after Bacigalupo's spin.
So you're saying if he doesn't go for the pass, he's no longer a racing driver?
As Senna would say, that's definitely Senna's opinion.
Cal Quinn, did he have a slowdown penalty or something there? He was way behind out of turn 3. No, I guess not. I guess he's still with him. He just looked like he was incredibly far back from Lucas there for a second. So we come back to our lead with Eisler still within half a second of Garrido.
He's gaining significantly lap over lap. He's gained about a 2/10 in that last lap alone. He fell a little bit behind the lap previous, but Eisler definitely has some race pace left in those tires.
And Eisler has yet to win this season. In fact, he's had 7 top 5, so he's been there. He's had consistency, but he's never been up at the front. Come around turns 12 and 13. He's running out of time to manage to put one in this season. He's going to have to hustle.
He's going to have to make a corner exit work. He's going to have to line this one up. He's looking at it. Looks like Garrido's getting a little bit loose there on the exit, but he's able to hang on to it. But Eisler's got a decent run right now. Let's see whether or not he does anything with it.
Coming down, he pokes his nose out, but decides better of it. A lot of curb once again for the Ferrari of Garrido, and that allows Eisler to stay right tucked up underneath that rear wing.
Garrido is extremely loose through the center of these corners, and that's going to penalize him coming out of this one right here. Let's see whether Eisler gets a good run.
Oh, it was Eisler that got a little bit loose that time, catching the car. Only cost him about a 10th. He's still within 0.3 of a second.
Looking. No, doesn't. Oh! That's as close as it gets right there. Christian Eisler almost into the back of Garrido as they enter that braking zone.
Wow, that was tight between them, but he managed to stay out of it. Still, that's going to give Diego something to think about. He had to have seen that in his mirrors with how close he got.
Diego is struggling right now with traction and grip. He's struggling with straight line speed. He's struggling everywhere, and Christian Eisler is just looking for whatever opportunity he can get. He's back to about 0.5 behind him now. We saw how fast he could close it in just one lap, but they only have about 2 laps to go, Joe.
Indeed, just got the signal from the flagman. 2 left for our drivers now as they've got a little over 2 minutes left on the clock itself. Still too far back. Christian Eisler has got to set himself up as they come through turn 3. Could he maybe get something possible down into turn 7 once again? He saw that he's brave on the brakes. He saw that there's an opportunity there as third place is erupted into a wreck, and Bacigalupo takes a tow as Cal Quinn is able to keep going, but slowly.
Yeah, I have no idea what this was. It looked like Bacigalupo was to let Cal Quinn by and then just came over on him again.
He went defensive, and then Cal Quinn, he came back across.
Yeah, this is a very
Ooh.
fascinating moment that we're seeing
Did
right
Bossy
here.
Global get the wall there?
I believe so, yes. Look at that right rear damage.
Just off of turn 2. You know, I'd at least from that angle, I'd put it a little bit more on Cal Quinn because it looks like he steered back right as soon as he got beside him.
And Joe Garrido just got into the wall coming onto Sunset Boulevard, so that's going to slow him down even further. Christian Eisler's got a really good opportunity coming out of the straight, and he's going to have to take it because we're on the white flag lap.
The chances are running out. There's only 2 real good ones left, but Diego's shown us there's other places that you can pass if you're brave. He's got a good run. This is actually an incredibly good run for Eisler, and he sticks his nose in. Can't quite make it, though. Didn't get side by side down to the apex into turn 3. What about the backstretch? Can he stick with him? Oh,
no!
And a little bit of the wall, and more wall for Eisler. He hits it incredibly hard. Can he keep it going? No, he comes to a halt. It's over for Eisler.
He has to finish this race. If he wants the championship over Holland, he has to finish.
I mean, he's got the championship. Holland is out of this. So he takes the toe, and this is going to promote Cal Quinn up to second, Swaby onto the podium. There's going to be some very happy drivers today, not least of which is Garrido. He had to put some elbow grease into it. He had to try and fight for it, and fight he did. Diego Garrido, I believe, going to get his first victory of the season. Indeed, it will be. Diego Garrido comes out on the final race on the final lap and wins it here today at Detroit.
Joe, the battle for P2 is not over. Cal Quinn is slow on the track, and Swaby is closing on Cal Quinn quite quickly. Looks like Cal Quinn has got the wall recently this lap, so Swaby's got a real opportunity for second here. I think he's going to take it.
Remember, Cal Quinn has damage from that accident that he had with our battle. And as he comes to the line, does he have the speed? Swaby's got to run. He's going to cover off the inside. I don't think he can hold him back, and down to the line. Lyndon Swaby, second place from fourth on the final lap. How about that? Wow. Cal Quinn settles for third. Henriquez a distant fourth, but not a bad showing for our lone Ford.
Very consistent race for him, putting on pressure on the rest of these GTEs. That Ford made a great showing today.
Romig with a nice fifth as well. And Lowendick behind him, going to take sixth position. Jeff Carollo, he comes home not too far ahead of Jeff Peterson with a eighth place himself. Seventh place, excuse me. Last one on the lead lap, going to be Brett Thurman. And that's only 10 cars. Eisler marked a lap down since he didn't finish that final lap and settles him into 10th. Excuse me, it was Thurman in 9th. That's going to take us to a quick break here, though. Wow, what a finish to the season. Don't go away. We'll have the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, and on screen, you'll see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome to the Belle Isle Circuit at Detroit here, and it has been an incredible final round here in the PRL GTE Sportscar Series. So much action all the way down to literally the last lap, and it was Diego Garrido who wound up winning it from fourth on the grid. Had a little bit of contact along the way with a couple drivers, but still he managed to find a line first. Lyndon Swaby came home behind him, taking it literally at the line by about 2/10 over Horatio Calquin, who was in an incident on with a penultimate lap there. Unfortunately, with our driver who was fighting for second for much of this race. We'll get to that in a little bit. Luis Henriquez climbing up from 12th to finish fourth, and then Sean Romig with a fifth behind him. Then it's Ted Lowendick who took P6. Jeff Carolla with a little bit of an early stop wound up in seventh, and Lee Peterson in P8 behind him. Brett Thurman, incredibly, the last car on the lead lap in ninth. That's way less than half of our drivers on the lead lap at the end. And Christian Eisler sort of DNF'd. He was classified in 10th, but a lap down because he had a wreck on the final lap, Adam.
James Hebb coming home in P11 after a good drive from him. Sean Duhamel, a great race from him. Very quiet race from him. A good finish. Kenny Rodriguez putting in good laps at the end, getting close to Duhamel by the end, and coming home as the last car one lap down. Then we have your cars 2 laps down, which is Bossi Galupo after his wreck being involved with Horatio Calquin. Comes home 2 laps down there in the 14th position. Spencer Semkovich, after getting some damage late on in the race, comes home in 15th position. And then we start to get into the cars with significant amounts of damage. That being Gary Schilling, Christopher Albright, and then we have Abner Acosta, who we saw had his personal wreck. And then Donald Olson and Ignacio Rodriguez Fredes round out your top 20.
David Holland did not get second in the championship. He wound up 21st today with an early wreck and lost out in that fight. James LeBlanc behind him in 22nd. These are all DNFs. Timothy Hargrave, 23rd. Joey Trungale, 24th. And Christopher Pfeffer, the first one out and last on the field, unfortunately. Adam, we were talking about it during the break. You're kind of happy you came in on this one. Because we have had some great excitement this season, but man, nothing quite like this. And it wasn't just, wrecks and things happening as you would expect here at Detroit. That was some great battling on track we saw.
Yeah, fantastic racing, fantastic racecraft. You really do have to race this track and most street circuits quite differently than you race other normal road circuits, American or European ones, and so street circuits require a different kind of discipline and finesse, and it was awesome to see these drivers tackle this unique format today.
I love watching this series, and we do anticipate them coming back for another season. We'll talk about that a little bit, but first we want to talk to our second place finisher, Lyndon Swaby. Pegleg managed to pirate himself a podium today. Lyndon, what were you thinking coming into those last 2 laps, and you keep seeing cars fly by you in the reverse direction?
I don't even know what I was thinking. I was pooched by then, but yeah, I don't know what happened. I was gonna have to watch the last lap to see.
There was a lot of accidents happening in front of you. Calquin and Bacigalupo got together, and unfortunately, there was an accident for I believe as well. Excuse me, my mind is blanking for a moment here. Eisler, excuse me. So those 3 gifted you a few spots, but
Wow.
Yeah. Coming into this, I'm sure you expected at least a bit of attrition. How did you approach this race? Did you kind of use that to your advantage and think, you'll hang back a little bit to try and take it easy, or were you guns a-blazing and trying to go as hard as you could?
I was going as hard as I could, but I was just trying not to hit the wall and just trying to get space on my own on the track there and not try to race too much. I guess it paid off, but I don't know if I deserve this podium.
A podium's a podium, man. It's whoever gets to the line first, right? So what a cool season we've had in this series. And it seems like the talent level just keeps getting greater and greater. Seeing what you've seen so far, what are your expectations next season? Do you have any goals as it clears up and the points get reset?
Um, yeah, well, This season, work's been really busy for me, so I didn't get to put a lot of laps in for as practice wise. But next season should be good. I'm down for another. Go for the challenge, I guess.
We look forward to having you back. And again, congratulations on second place. Whether or not you feel like it, it's been given to you today, sir.
Yeah, thank you guys.
As Lyndon Swaby, obviously himself kind of confused about the end of that race. And unfortunately, he's the only one we're going to be able to talk to. It looks like Cal Quinn and Garrido not willing to come and converse with us here at the end. So we'll close it up with a few thank yous, of course. We want to start with the sponsors for this series. A big thanks to Simulation Motorsports Affinity. If you want to check them out and see how you can get involved with the worldwide sim racing community, you can find them at SIMMSA.net. Also, a thank you goes out to ButtKicker, all kinds of cool sorts of simulation gear that they can get for your rig. They are located at thebuttkicker.com. There are some prizes in this league that they've been handing out, so you might want to join if you want to try and get some of their swag. And also thank you to iRacing for putting us on IESN. If you can, make sure and subscribe. All you got to do is click the big red button that says subscribe. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast. They're listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Adam, Amjad, and Dougie as well. Special thank you to Rem Ambrosi for being our pit reporter. He got his exercise worth today. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media as well. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram, GSRC_Graham. We have our merch store linked in the description below. That is, of course, gsrc.storeenvy.com. Don't miss out on all the cool stuff we've got there. And the next race that we've got coming is going to be on Tuesday, December 10th. We don't know what track yet, but we'll keep you updated. And again, we are in close talks and are getting ready to confirm that they will be back here on GSRC. That'll be at 9 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.